So, how does one of the world's biggest religions even begin? We're about to dive into the incredible story of how one man's vision, born in the desert, gave rise to Islam, a faith that didn't just unite a people, but completely changed the course of history.
Okay, before we jump in our time machine, let's just take a quick look at the world right now. Islam is huge. It's the world's second largest religion, and it's also the fastest growing. We're talking more than 1 billion followers. Think about that for a second. That's about 1 in every 5 people on the entire planet. That massive global reach is exactly why this origin story is so important to understand. Which brings us to the big question, right? How in the world did this happen? How did a faith that now touches literally every corner of the globe start with just one person in the Arabian desert 1400 years ago? Well, that's the puzzle we're going to piece together today. All right, to solve that puzzle, our journey has to start in the past. We've got to understand the world as it was then. A world that was, in many ways, just waiting for a powerful new idea. So, welcome to 7th century Arabia. To really get why Islam took root and flourished, you have to understand the soil it grew in. And let me tell you, it was a place of fascinating, stark contrasts. So, picture the Arabian Peninsula. Forget about a unified country with a flag and a government. It was this vast, rugged desert, and it was completely fragmented. Your loyalty wasn't to a nation. It was to your family, your clan. And people's beliefs were just as scattered. They worshipped many different gods and spirits. But here's the twist. This divided tribal land was also a critical hub for the entire world. I mean, Arabia sat at the intersection of 3 continents. It was a superhighway for trade, connecting massive empires. So you had spices, silk, all sorts of goods, and most importantly, ideas constantly flowing through. And right at the heart of all this action was the city of Mecca. It was the wealthiest trading city around for sure, but it was also the religious center. It was home to a sacred building called the Kaaba, and at the time, it was filled with idols to hundreds of different gods. And here's the real kicker. Violence was forbidden in Mecca. It was a zone of peace, which made it the perfect, safe place for merchants to come and do business. It's into this bustling, complex world of trade and religion that our central figure is born, a man who started as a merchant but would become a messenger for God. So in this very city lived a man named Muhammad. He was an orphan, but he grew up to be a really well-respected and successful merchant. He was known everywhere for his honesty and integrity. He was part of this world of caravans and commerce. But his life took a dramatic turn in the year 610. Muhammad was 40 years old, and while he was meditating in a cave, he had a powerful vision. According to Islamic tradition, the angel Gabriel appeared to him and told him that he was to be a prophet, a messenger for God on earth. And so, Muhammad began to preach the new faith that was being revealed to him. This faith was called Islam, which is an Arabic word that means submission to the will of God. And naturally, his followers came to be known as Muslims, or one who has submitted to God. Now, this is absolutely crucial to understand. The message was purely monotheistic, and Muslims worship the same God as Jews and Christians. In Arabic, God is called Allah. This points to a shared heritage. In Islam, Muhammad isn't seen as the first prophet, but as the final one in a long, continuous line that goes all the way back and includes Adam, Abraham, Moses, and even Jesus. Muhammad's message was simple, yet powerful. There is only one God. But in a city like Mecca, a city whose entire economy was built on worshiping hundreds of gods, that message wasn't just revolutionary, it was dangerous. So Muhammad starts preaching publicly around 613. And while a lot of people were really drawn to his message of equality and devotion, Mecca's powerful leaders saw him as a huge threat. I mean, think about it. Their wealth depended on the thousands of pilgrims who came to the Kaaba to worship all those different gods. A single god was bad for business. And that fear very quickly turned to hostility and then to outright violence. For years, Muhammad and his followers were persecuted. The attacks just got worse and worse, until finally, in 622, they were forced to flee Mecca for their lives. This migration, this journey north to the city of Medina, is known as the Hijra. And it is such a foundational moment that it actually marks year 1 on the Islamic calendar. And that move to Medina, It was a total game changer. Here, finally away from the constant persecution in Mecca, the community of Muslims could actually grow. They became something new, a community united not by bloodlines or clan, but by their shared faith. But the story doesn't end there. In exile? No way. After years of growing in strength and number, Muhammad would set his sights back on the very city that had cast him out. 10,000. In the year 630, this is the number of followers who marched with Muhammad as he made his way back towards Mecca. Just try to imagine that scene for a minute. The man who had fled for his life just a few years earlier was now returning at the head of a massive army. He entered and took control of Mecca, and what's really remarkable is that he did it with very little bloodshed. Once he was inside the city, Muhammad went straight to the Kaaba. There, he and his followers destroyed the hundreds of idols to the old gods, clearing them out and rededicating the holy site to the one God, Allah. In that single act, he unified the city, both politically and spiritually, under the banner of Islam. Just 2 years later, in 632, Muhammad passed away. But in his lifetime, he had done something that most people would have said was impossible. He had taken all those scattered, warring tribes of the Arabian Peninsula and united them under a single faith and a single purpose. So what happens after he dies? Does this brand new unity just fall apart? Not even close. In fact, this is where the story explodes onto the world stage. After Muhammad's death, that unity didn't fracture. It ignited. His successors, called caliphs, took that incredible energy and channeled it. Fueled by this powerful faith, Muslim armies expanded with absolutely breathtaking speed. We're talking about an empire of faith that, in just a century, stretched all the way from Spain and Europe to the borders of India, spreading through both conquest and trade, and transforming the world as we know it. And that brings us right back to where we started, from one man in a cave in Mecca to a global community of billions. It's a truly incredible journey from a divided desert to a unified empire of faith. And it leaves us with one final thought to chew on. How does the story of a 7th century merchant continue to shape the politics, the culture, and even the daily lives of our 21st century world?